Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers, sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful land of enchantment, which is known as the state of New Mexico, within the Albuquerque, Rio Rancho area, or Sandoval County. And today's date, Sunday, August 2nd, 2015. Yeah, I'm going to do just a few tonight. Just, kicking back, relaxing, and be hitting the road in a few days. Head back to the Beehive State, to be exact, Mormonville. It'll be interesting. So, thanks to say hello, everyone, to all my beautiful people, wherever you're at, even all my colleagues within South Florida, the state of Florida, and beyond. Hopefully everyone's doing well, and I haven't forgotten any of you. Okay, so I'm just gonna say I'm gonna hit a few things, just shoot the breeze here. And the first thing I want to be talking about, it came from the RonPaulInstitute.org. It was from the weekly column, came out today, August 2nd, and it is entitled "Politics is Not the Path to Pro-Life Victory." So, Congressman Paul made a statement over here and says, "During my time in Congress, I regularly introduced legislation forbidding organizations that perform abortions from receiving federal funding. The U.S. government should not force taxpayers to subsidize an activity they believe is murder. Thus, while I was horrified recently released videos showing Planned Parenthood officials casually discussing selling the organs of aborted babies, I am glad that the reaction to these videos has renewed efforts to end federal funding of abortion. My experience in Congress does not leave me optimistic that federal funding of Planned Parenthood will be ended this year. However, this is not just because the current U.S. president is pro-abortion. When I started my efforts to end taxpayer support of abortion, I was shocked to find out how many Republicans, including some self-subscribed pro-life leaders, were unsupportive of and sometimes hostile to my efforts. Most pro-life politicians prefer to add language to funding bills prohibiting federal funds from being used for abortions rather than define federal funds to abortion providers. This approach does not stop taxpayers from subsidizing abortions. The reason is that money is fungible. Yep. Giving Planned Parenthood $100 to use for non-abortion activities allows it to spend an additional $100 of its non-government funds on abortion. Foreign interventionists in both parties were particularly hostile to my efforts to eliminate federal funding for international organizations that performed or promoted abortions. This is a foolish policy that gives people around the globe another reason to resent the U.S. government. Planned Parenthood may have abandoned the explicitly racist and eugenic views of its founder, Margaret Sanger, but the majority of its abortion services are still provided to lower income and minority women. Every day, nearly 2,000 African American babies lose their lives to abortion, a rate 5 times higher than the Caucasian abortion rates. I support the Black Lives Matter movement. I have long advocated an end to the drug war, police militarization, and other threats to liberty that disappropriately victimize African Americans. However, I wish some of the Black Lives Matter movement's passion and energy was directed to ending abortion. Unborn Black lives also matter. The federal government has no constitutional authority to permit, fund, or even outlaw abortion. Therefore, efforts to make abortion a federal crime are just as unconstitutional as efforts to prohibit states from outlawing abortion. A Congress that truly cared about the Constitution would end all federal funding for abortion and pass legislation restricting federal jurisdiction over abortion, thus returning the issues to the states. While passing legislation may help limit abortion, pro-life movement will never succeed unless it changes people's attitudes toward the unborn. This is why crisis pregnancy centers, which provide care and compassion to women facing unplanned pregnancies, have done more to advance the pro-life cause than any politician. By showing women they have viable alternatives to abortion, these centers have saved many lives. One factor hindering the anti-abortion movement ability to change people's minds is that too many abortion opponents also support militaristic foreign policy. These pro-lifers undercut their moral credibility as advocates for unborn American lives when they display a callous indifference to the lives of Iraqi, Iranian, and Afghan children. Libertarians who support abortion should ask themselves how they can expect a government that does not respect the unborn right to life to respect their property rights. Therefore, all of those who wish to create a society of liberty, peace, and prosperity should join me in advocating for a consistent ethic of life and liberty that respects the rights of all persons, born and unborn. And of course, on his Facebook page, he had some slack, but he did refute it too in good faith. It was a good discussion. I can say that for sure. And I have my personal views on it. I'm not fond of abortion in general. I'm not here to condemn people if they disagree. It's not that at all. But on a consensual basis, if people were sexually responsible, will this be a topic, an issue? That's something you have to think about. And when I bring that up, it doesn't matter. Even at a bar, I could bring it up. But I don't get mad at people. When I bring that up, both sides of the paradigm on this topic cannot argue with me. It's all in good faith. And why should I, a person, an individual like myself, have to be conscripted on having my money funded to this particular organization, military-industrial complex, anything that's unacceptable in my view. It should be more voluntary instead of conscription on these fundings. And this is why it gets my goat. I don't want to have people go, decide, hey, yeah, well, we gotta do this, send money to foreign aid. It's like same thing. Hey, redistribution of wealth. I'm against that socialism, but they support foreign aid. But let's think about. But it's individuals have to make this decision, not the politicians, but individuals like you and I can make a difference on this topic. And like I say, never take life for granted, my friends. We all gotta accept responsibility for our actions. And this is why I say consensual basis on this disturbing topic. And I say this out of love and in good faith. So, whether you agree with me or not, or agree with Ron Paul or not, it's okay. You can give me your views too, always in good faith, because that's how I do things. And Congressman Paul does the same thing. So it's the main idea. Let's do it. We can take care of our problems. We don't need Washington. All right, another one here came from the National Security Archive, the George Washington University, and this is entitled "Washington's Post-Op-Ed highlights dubious secrets. Clinton's emails potentially classified. So is this posting. And what's interesting, this is from Colin Powell, and I'm looking at it, and they do a lot of deletions on here. So how is that fully transparent, right? Censor. All right, came out August 1st. Post it, and it says here, you watch the Post article, America classifies way too much information, and we're all less safe for it. As it says, here's by Tom Blanton, who is the director of National Security Archive at George Washington University, says here, warning, if you hold a secret clearance, reading this column could expose you to information that potentially violates their security agreement. Reading this column will certainly expose you to information that is currently classified by some bureaucrats, though not by others. Inspectors General of the State Department and the intelligence community have made a security referral to the Justice Department regarding Hillary Clinton's emails on the grounds that some of them were potentially classified. So, is this column. Then a lot of it is in light blue font, So you could they're all links, so you could examine these yourselves. And I will proceed. Watch out, your clearance is at stake. Let me get the suspense over with. Here's a classified fact. We, the United States, based medium-range ballistic missiles carrying nuclear warheads in Turkey in 1962, which angered Soviet Union Nikita Khrushchev so much that he put his own into Cuba. Wait, I've read all about that. It's been declassified, hasn't it? Well, yes, except in the immortal words of John F. Kennedy, there's always some son of a bitch who doesn't get the word. And continue on. The word is the Cold War is over, yet Cold War secrecy rules still control the government's information system. The Defense Department still can't bring itself to declassify nukes in Turkey and Italy and 50 or so other countries which we are idiotically stationed them during the Cold War. Here at the National Security Archive, in our Dubious Secrets series, we publish hundreds of U.S. government documents that one office or officials considers declassified while another insists must stay secret. Whom do you listen to? We have two versions of the same page of the White House email address, and then Deputy National Security Advisor Colin Powell, with the top and bottom blacked out from one review, and the middle blacked out from another 10 days later. Turns out it was the same reviewer both times, so goes highly subjective process of classification. But let's talk about Clinton. Thank goodness she used a private email server when she was Secretary of State. If she had used the State Department system, practically none of her email would survive. That's how bad state electronic archiving was then. Instead, the State Department has 30,000 of her messages, and history is becoming much wiser. Her critics, not so much. Now, some of the folks who clamor to see those messages want them to lock up in classified vaults. Foolishness. They intended to redact the emails, thus putting red flags right on messages that circulate for years in unclassified form, thus highlighting the secrets they contain. If there really are any, keeping emails unclassified would actually be the best way to protect anything sensitive through obscurity. There were significant efficiency gains for our national security when a Secretary of State ran her main email account in unclassified form. No artificial barriers to information sharing. A bright line against including truly classified documents. A standing rebuke to the massive overclassification all around her. I've seen a couple million pages of documents that were classified when the government put them on paper or computer screens. I can say from experience that few deserve such consideration. There are real secrets. This is where I diverge from the Julian Assanges and Chelsea Mannings of the world. I don't want the design of binary chemical warheads getting out, nor the identities of any brave Iranian or Chinese voice who talk to our embassies or CIA stations. The bottom line of our diplomats and negotiations, I think we should keep to ourselves until such as the deals are done. But the real secrets making up the only fraction of the classified universe, and no secret deserves immortality. In fact, essential to the new whole idea of democratic government is that secret deals with dictators will come out eventually, not least to deter the worst deals from being made. WikiLeaks produced a hysteria in Washington with the large-scale release of U.S. diplomatic cables in 2010. The House Judiciary Committee asked me to talk about whether lawmakers should amend the Espionage Act to prosecute those guys. Bad idea, I said. I predicted that there would be little damage to real national security because most declassified cables can be published within a few years with no harm done. I showed Congress the estimates over the years of how much gets classified that don't deserve to be. Ronald Reagan's Executive Secretary for National Security Council, Rodney B. DeMichael, said 9%. Thomas H. Keane, the Republican head of the 9/11 Commission, said 75% of what we saw was classified should not have been. In fact, the congressional inquiry into 9/11 concluded that secrecy had kept the American people, by our allies in the fight against terrorism, from engaging with the threat they face. The only responders with enough information to disrupt any of the 9/11 attacks were passengers on United Flight 93 who heard through their cell phones what was happening on the other planes that attempted to retake control of their own, saving whose own how many lives in the process. The best defense of an open society is open information. We're not safer in the dark. Those inspectors general poring over Clinton's emails need to get back to the transparency and accountability jobs, where they should focus on opening, not closing the files. Will empower free citizenry to protect our country and ourselves and hold our leaders to account. Nicely done there, brother. He's absolutely correct. Mr. Blanton is spot on. And there's links on here, too, about the Khrushchev thing, top secret, which a couple areas got erased, got taken down. And, of course, the whole Colin Powell as well. And, yeah, things need to be more declassified and open. And this is why wait 50, 60 years like he did with Operation Ajax, okay, when the CIA took over, CIA, MI5, and British Petroleum did a coup attempt to overthrow Mohammed Mossadegh, who was the prime minister at the time, and put in this puppet named the Shah. But it looks like the Shah stopped playing ball, and look what happened after that. And, it has to be transparent, it has to be open, because, hey, that's what the people want. We are right to know what the hell is going on. And when people learn, they don't have to panic or cut their wrist or anything like that. But, if people find out what really happened, they will live out of fear. So I won't, because I know we've been living in a dangerous world since the beginning of time. Good 5,000-6,000 years, maybe 10,000, okay? So 10 millenniums. At the least, it could be a lot more than that. But there's links on here too for the dubious secrets, which is pretty cool. So I'm about to take initiative and looking at those as well. But yeah, it has to be, like I said, the main idea. A little bit more openness would be great, because people are still questioning on September 11th, the incident that happened September 11th, 2001. And the ministry says it's an inside job. I said I am convinced of the New World Order agenda, and I'm not afraid to say it on the air or any of my shows. But transparency is the key, and like I said, Barack Obama made that statement, and you know what? He just gave us, the people, the P9 microphone. But just another example of a bellboy to the globalist. So don't keep us in the dark. Bring it out to light. All right, finally. This came from freethoughtproject.com. Came out yesterday. And I like this one. I had to really like it. I got a big kick out of it. It is entitled 5 Things You Missed While Everyone Was Paying Attention to Cecil the Lion. And let's start over here. As media outlets, social media around the world exploded with talk of the slain African mascot, Cecil the Lion, ironically, Zimbabweans gave no cares. According to a report this week, the tragedy of Cecil at the hand of American deaths went largely unnoticed by the residents of Zimbabwe. On Thursday, Reuters report that information minister hadn't even heard of the shooting. What lion? Acting information minister Prisha Mufumia asked in response to a request for a comment about Cecil, who was at the moment topping global news bulletins and generating reams of abuse for his killers on websites in the United States and Europe. The Zimbabweans chose focus on other issues. Hundreds of Minneapolis residents stood in protest outside the dental practice of 55-year-old Walter Palmer, calling him to be extradited to Zimbabwe, according to the AP. Meanwhile, however, multiple atrocities were committed on the behalf of the American police state, which went largely unnoticed by U.S. citizens. Of course, the needless slaying of an animal who was fathered 6 cubs is terrible, but so is police officers publicly executing a teenager over a plant that's legal in 5 states. On Thursday, a 19-year-old Zachary Hammond revealed that he was shot in the back by an officer. His crime was driving a friend to pick up a small bag of marijuana. Oh my goodness. This was so senseless. Family attorney Richie Richter, for a passenger who allegedly was in possession of marijuana, this kid got killed. Where's the outbreak? American people, the United States, where's the outbreak? But you have been distracted, as usual. And I will continue on here. On Monday, while Americans grieved over a lion in Africa, it was discovered that yet another person had died in jail after being arrested for a traffic fine. On July 9th, a Native American man, Rexdale W. Henry, 53, was arrested for failure to pay a traffic fine. 5 days later, on July 14th, Henry will be found dead in a Neshoba County, Mississippi jail cell. Henry was a community activist and a beloved member of his community. Also this week, it was reported that another Native American died in jail. This time it would be a woman named Sarah Lee Circlebear. Circlebear was booked into jail for an alleged DUI bond violation. Days later, fellow inmates reported hearing her cry for help. Circlebear was found dead in her cell. Officers reportedly told Circlebear to quit faking after she attempted to tell them she was in horrible agony. And there's a link for that too. Yes, it is. So you guys can check it out yourself. Thursday, a shocking report was put out by USA Today that exposed a tremendous and deadly danger associated with police chase. Thousands of innocent bystanders have been killed in the past few decades. Tens of thousands of injured. A study pointed out that the majority of these innocent lives were being taken over minor traffic offenses such as seatbelts and registration violation. It's all in red font, so you can look at the links yourselves. And here's another one. At what point does the total number of deaths of innocent men, women, and children become too high to justify the risk? 20,000, 50,000, 100,000? If one innocent life is lost in pursuit of a criminal, it is a travesty of justice. It wasn't all bad news this week, however. Justice was served in Wichita, Kansas. Kyler Carricker, who'd been charged with murder despite the fact that he killed no one and was shot by an actual murderer, was found not guilty. Carricker was charged under the state's felony murder rule for introducing an acquaintance to a person who sold marijuana. During the trade, the acquaintance opened fire on Carricker and the dealer and attempted to rob them. Carricker and the dealer were both shot, but the dealer died. Instead of going after the actual criminals, police and prosecutors, in an attempt to bolster their conviction rate, charged with Carricker with murder. Luckily for Carricker, he had a rational jury who refused to charge a man with murder who had done nothing morally wrong. So, the 5 things you've missed because everyone climaxed over the Cecil the lion tragedy. And the people in Zimbabwe didn't care. Hunting over there has been happening a long time. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't matter what your views are on hunting. It's been done over there. And everyone wants to do this protest, worry about some dentists, and a lot of things are happening right under their nose. Hey, think about the shooting in Charleston. They want to take down the Confederate flag. It's a total distraction because everyone's going to focus on the TPA, the TPP agenda, which is the road to technocracy. But everyone's worried about some cloth. That's why I bring that up. A lot of these folks are getting hooked. A lot of these folks that you know, I'm not saying my listeners in general, get caught, hooked, line, and sinkered. Another version, another technique from the Ed Bernays' playbook called Propaganda. It's online, by the way. Just type in Edward Bernays' Propaganda. I already put links in the past. Look it up. There's an internet version of it, and you can read it for yourself. You'd be surprised. When you start knowing about this, be strategic, then the knowledge is in your head, and you can really start saying, hey, there's a distraction. Hey, here's only a wet dream. This is total garbage. I don't buy it. Etc. Think you gotta be strategic, my friends. Sons of the art of war. So definitely, don't just focus on one area and manifest on it. Especially when it comes to something that happened a few thousand miles across the ocean. Cecil the Lion. Yeah, it's a shame that happened. But you know what? But everyone, I see on Facebook, everyone's manifest over it. Even on the Empire State Building, give me a break. Please. Awful, stupid, lousy. And that's why I gotta say, folks, contemplate for yourselves. Don't let these ass clowns of the mainstream media, even alternative media, you can always observe responsibly. Don't get caught in the hype. And you know what? It's a short and sweet episode, and I'm going to leave it like that. Thanks for everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, or send me information, always use it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, and send your comments to iHeartRadio. Or feel free to email me at LokiLuck3, the number 3 itself is all together, at gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.